Do you think, just a quick question, do you think how he was portrayed in Gladiator is sort of representative in your mind of roughly what his personality was?
I'm going to say something shocking here, and maybe this is something I like movies and plays and stuff like that. Peter Ustinov did a play called Barefoot in Athens about Socrates, and I think it's like pretty much what I imagine Socrates was. You know, people always think, oh, it's not accurate and stuff. Right, Marcus Aurelius, apart from the fact that Richard Harris doesn't look anything like him, right? In Gladiator, I know people are going to go nuts and say, oh, it's fiction, that didn't really happen, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's not as implausible as people think. Actually, the character of Maximus, it's obvious to me, is based on Marcus Aurelius' son-in-law to a large extent. Claudius Pompeianus, his name was, right? He had a different name. But Marcus allegedly asked him to become Caesar and serve as an interim ruler before Commodus was appointed sole emperor. So that's not crazy inaccurate. And then the other thing that seems outrageous is Marcus Aurelius at the beginning of Gladiator says, I think we're done with this emperor stuff and we should just go back to the Republic. Which seems like a ridiculous thing to many people to say. Well, they should go read the Meditations. Because, it's even crazier what he says in there. Like, in book 1 of the Meditations, he says that his political ideals are a republic in which everyone is equal. And you kind of think, that doesn't sound like the empire. I mean, and maybe in some sense he thinks that these things could be reconciled. But he says, everyone is equal under the law. Which, surely would be a much more egalitarian society than the Roman Empire. So, I don't know. I think it's not as absurd as it might seem. Although, obviously it's fiction.
Yeah.
The stuff that I've written, people thought was fiction, and it's not. The stuff that I've written is different, from Gladiator. Gladiator is a work of fiction, but not as crazy as it seems. The stuff that I've written is not fiction. It's slightly dramatized, very closely based. We're trying to retell the story that's in the Roman histories. And so, for example, in the graphic novel, right down to the level of, I've been, to Carnuntum. I spent a week there interviewing the CEO and the director of archaeology there. I toured the whole location where Marcus Aurelius wrote the Meditations, right, in Austria. And I've been in Greece to some of the locations that we have in the graphic novel there. We got experts to advise us on the military equipment. And in terms of even the dialogue, using the private letters and also Roman poetry gives us ideas about colloquial expressions in Rome. So I know, for instance, that Marcus Aurelius actually refers to Fronto, his rhetoric tutor, as best of masters. That's how he addresses him. So in the graphic novel, the way that the dialogue that we have to introduce dialogue, which to a large extent has to be made up, but it draws very heavily on things he actually says in the letters,
right,
or in speeches, or in the Meditations. It uses figures of speech, tons of phrase that we know were extant at that time.